Right.
I'm picking the greatest team against anybody.
Yeah, but when you say you're the greatest of all time, and the GOAT debate, that's still saying that you're ahead of Michael. So your position is still in the game of NBA. You're the greatest of all time, all around.
Right.
All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you all are having a good day so far. So I've been waiting to get back to this. So here we are. This is part two, essentially, of this long podcast with Scottie Pippen. Video title called Couldn't Win Without Me. Scottie Pippen breaks silence on Jordan, NBA legacy, Bulls dynasty. Yesterday was the first part, but this is a 2-hour long podcast, so I'm doing this in sections. First time around, we got some talk about the Dream Team. We got some talk about how political basketball is right now, comparing how the face of the league right now is LeBron James, and how he has a more political approach, which could possibly be dividing the fans, while the old, face of the league, being Michael Jordan, always refused to talk about politics and never has made his politics clear to anybody, therefore allowing the growth of the game because everybody felt welcome. Very interesting topics so far. And also, they discussed what Scottie feels is his concerns about the current NBA, what we call like the soft era. And he talked about the three-point shooting, the lack of defense allowed, and mentioned that at the tail end of his career, basically, like, defense was starting to get penalized to promote more offense. And that was around 2003, 2004. So that's all. That's the recount. If you guys want to check out the first video, I highly recommend it. I'm going to piggyback right off of that and literally play right where I left off. As I always do, the link to the original video is down below in the description. So if you want to check out this whole podcast and watch ahead of me, go right ahead. The link is there for you. Everybody, please leave this video a like. I appreciate you all for doing it. And let's get into some more. Where he specifically left off was talking about Charles Barkley not winning a championship and how that shouldn't be a stain on Chuck's legacy, because he was so great anyways. And the team that beat him was the Chicago Bulls, which nobody beat in the finals. So it's like, and I was just ending it with, like, to me, Charles is a champion. Karl Malone and Stockton are also champions in my mind. All right, let's do it.
Oh, there's no question about it. He on that area, he may be the discussion as the most entertaining one that gets the most eyeballs. He's got to be up there.
Talking about
as
Charles.
what he's done with that area of his career. But I don't know. I think Charles would say, you're right, and he would take that as a compliment. And he would still say, I wish I would have won one.
Of course.
I think that's what he would have said. But, from his standpoint, and again, that's the part when I watch and Shaq says, I got 4, you got 0. He's such a great example on that side that he still puts the pressure of not having won one.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yes.
And by the way, for yourself, with the game that you played, opponent, and staying on this Dream Team side, conversation that we're having, for those who are NBA fans, they remember when those guys beat you guys up every season. And Tim Grover is a friend where Tim comes in and, he starts training. You see the videos with Michael and him and all this other stuff, and he learns he has to kind of get stronger to get through the middle because those guys aren't, one of my I would play the footage, but we can't because it's the NBA footage. The one where Michael comes in over Ewing and he scores with, I think it's Xavier McDaniel, and just kind of he looks at him and just kind of, celebrates to say he's got the strength now. You can't bully him anymore. So puts his head against, I've probably seen that 4-minute and 40-second clip of them going against the Knicks when he says, I asked my dad, what should I do? Take the lead, and if they don't follow, whatever, you at least will be able to look back. And he gets into Xavier's face right here. I freaking have watched this thing a few thousand times.
Wasn't that from like 92 or 93 though? But I see what he's saying. By then, Michael Jordan was an absolute just savage. No, he wasn't afraid of anything anymore. But he got over the hump with Detroit in 91. It's okay, yeah, it's close.
And just getting into his eyes to tell him, hey, we're not afraid of you. Such a beautiful thing.
An X-Man, it's
but
crazy.
For you guys going up against Pistons and then coming back and, winning, and then them walking off, We've heard Michael's version, okay, of the reason why Isaiah didn't make it on the Dream Team. Stats, overqualified. Championships, overqualified. Numbers he put up, I mean, Isaiah Thomas, I think one season put up 38.8 or 28.88. He put up some numbers that just made no sense. Maybe it was even 32.88. Can you put Isaiah Thomas stats? Just type in Isaiah Thomas stats if you could. And go down to, keep going lower.
Stats don't tell
See,
Isaiah
see what the
Thomas's
points
story.
per game is, Rob. If you can zoom out a little bit to see points. Go lower, 28.8. He had one season that the numbers, and maybe that's Larry Bird that put up the stats like that. But this guy was a two-time champion.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers are based on his scoring and his assists. So when you're
insane.
having 20 points and 10, 11, 12,
40.
13 assists,
Right.
then that's 30 points.
Yep.
Did you know the story that what he did that day, not shaking hands, getting off the field, lamb beer, all of that stuff?
Oh boy, here we go.
You knowing Michael, you're like, yeah, he's not going to be on the. Did you know that story behind closed doors?
You know,
I hate to say it, I'm actually really sick and tired of this story, but let's get Scotty's perspective. I'm sick of hearing about the Pistons walking off and the repercussions of that.
when that happened, that had nothing to do with the Dream Team. That was in '91. That was our first title.
Yep.
So I don't even think I was on the Dream Team at that time. The Dream Team stuff came up in '92, or right as that season was starting to get underway.
But I'm talking like Isaiah not being there, and you guys are playing, and the guys are talking to one another. Some guys are also kind of like, wow, he's here, but Isaiah's not here. Was it a known fact that Isaiah wasn't on because of Michael? Because the coach was, who was your coach? You guys had the coach that.
Chuck
I
Daly?
think it was a known fact that he wasn't on the team. I can't say why he wasn't on the team. I can't even point out say that any individual put him off the team. Basketball is a game built on relationships, and that team was put together based on relationships, players that they felt could get along, players that they felt could play together, and players that they felt like could contribute in the right way to win a gold medal. And you know what? Dominique Wilkins was left off of that team.
Yep.
And
Yep. Good
I
point.
personally feel as bad as anyone to see a guy who I idolized, who I looked up to, who I guarded, who I defended numerous amount of times, not be a part of that team. But I didn't want to sacrifice my seat to give it up to him. But with all respect, I felt like he deserved to be on that team as well.
And that's a good point. Like we don't mention Dominique because Dominique never cried about it, but Isaiah gets mentioned all the time. Listen, with MJ and Pippen, they were a duo back then, and they just won. They just won back to back at that point, back to back championships, and we considered them a dynamic duo. MJ, Scottie Pippen. So they went together because. You were talking about team chemistry for the Olympics. Yeah, let's get those guys together. Just like let's get Malone and Stockton together. That's built-in chemistry that you cannot break. You cannot deny that chemistry. So Dominique, essentially, he did get ripped off because he was one of the best players in the league easily at that point. No question, no argument. But like Scottie's saying, it was a dynamic of a team for chemistry. And that's not something you can usually reproduce. And we've made that mistake in the Olympics plenty of times since then, where we just put, 12 stars together on a lineup and expect them to play good together. It doesn't always work that way.
It's Isaiah.
Yeah,
I felt like he deserved to be on that team as well, not just Isaiah.
Yep.
yeah. But the biggest thing to me is like it's the head coach is Chuck Daly. He is Isaiah's coach.
Oh, he's going to keep pushing this, isn't
he's the guy that they went together with. You mean to tell me, like, either David Stern is not a fan of Isaiah to say, I'm going to pick Chuck and you're not going to get in. That's like so to me, it almost has to be a David Stern thing that says, you didn't represent something like this. You
David.
disrespect the NBA tradition. I'm going to not put you there, and I'm going to put your coach and Michael, and this will be a taint as the greatest team ever put together you want a part of. That's what I'm trying to say, because I see David Stern as a boss. I see him as
I will not let you say that, because I don't think that would be fair. David Stern has nothing to do with USA basketball. So
you don't
I
think
will
so?
correct you on that one. No. He gave them the nod that they could use NBA players, but I don't think when it comes to picking the team, selecting the players.
So as an amateur here,
I don't
tell
think
me,
that the
educate me,
commissioner.
who picks the team?
I thought it was Colangelo, right? Back then in '92, I was pretty sure it was Colangelo.
Well, it's the people at USA Basketball, and
Who was running the USA Basketball at the time? This is something like, for me as a fan, I'm
so
curious.
you're gonna have to do your research.
Yeah.
Figure out.
I feel like you listen. I feel like your
CM Newton.
USA Basketball 1992.
CM Newton.
CM
CM
Newton.
Newton. Okay.
See,
so that's,
I think Scotty's got a point here, though, real quick, because listen, Scotty made it apparently clear he didn't want to play with Isaiah. MJ made it clear. I hear Magic made it clear he didn't want to play with him. Larry Bird, at a certain point, like, you got the majority of the roster you want outspoken against playing with him. So what are you going to do? You're going to blow up the whole team and just have Isaiah go out there, or are you going to leave Isaiah off the team? Because once again, we're talking about team camaraderie, and having Isaiah could have really messed up that camaraderie. All the while, you can just have John Stockton, up and coming John Stockton in there to take his place, and we did just fine. So I know everyone wants to blame one person, but I think it was much bigger than that.
what's his name? CM Newton.
CM Newton.
Was the president of basketball in 1998 U.S. basketball. During this tenure, he was instrumental in the decision to allow professional basketball players to come to summer, which led to the creation of the Dream Team. He served as the assistant coach of 1984 Olympic gold medal. I think Jordan was on that team, if I'm not mistaken, and was a major influence in the 92, served on NCAA committees, coached at Alabama Vanderbilt before coaching, played basketball, football, and baseball at Fort Lauderdale High School. Shout out to Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, sir.
Played on state championship in basketball. So then I got to, Rob, you got to do this, because Scottie is now trying to turn us into a research team. Did C.M. Newton influence Isaiah Thomas from not making the Dream Team? Maybe even ask ChatGPT. Maybe Dream Team.
What is it? AI answering this
Well,
now?
let's see.
Yeah,
Yes, according to reports,
taking over
C.M.
Google.
Newton, who was the head of selection committee in 1992, is considered to have a role in Isaiah not being selected, as there were strong indications that Michael Jordan, the key player, would not participate if Thomas was on the team, and Newton reportedly facilitated that decision by not pushing for Isaiah's inclusion. Michael Jordan, most accounts point to Michael Jordan's alleged opposition to Isaiah Thomas being on the Dream Team as a primary reason for his exclusion. How close was C.M. Newton to David Stern? Were they friends or no?
I don't know. I would have to say there's probably some respect there.
Got it.
But yeah, Scotty's not lying here, though. David Stern had nothing to do with the Olympics, because prior to this point, there had never been an NBA player in the Olympics. So there was no association. What was going on with Team USA basketball was a whole different organization. And they only started having to communicate, like Scotty said, because David Stern had to relinquish permission. Yes, you can select people from the NBA now. That's all it was.
But yeah, that's the guy that put the team together. So
Yeah, go talk to
Well,
him.
if I see a pattern,
when people say Michael did this or they didn't put him on the team because of the Bulls, whatever, C.M. Newton was a fan of the game, just like you were. He saw the bad blood between the Bulls and Pistons. So how can he put mix oil and water together?
Yep.
let me tell you, if you really want to get back at Isaiah, you pick his coach and you pick Michael, and you have videos circulating all over the world of Chuck and Michael golfing. if you really, really want to get under someone's skin, I got to tell you, this C.M. Newton guy is extremely creative to have thought. Obviously, he passed away 6 years ago. May God bless his soul. But if he was that much of a mastermind, by the way, for me, when you're running a company.
I can't pretend like it never crossed my mind, too, because Chuck Daly, of all coaches, it was Chuck Daly coaching the team, and not one Detroit Piston was on that team.
Making decisions sometimes, and there's bad blood with somebody. Let's just say somebody took advantage of another guy, or somebody did something that didn't meet the traditions of a company. You have to set the example and represent the guy that's setting the better example. So I think the right move was made here. And if Michael was not happy about it, you want him to go and play in the dream team, and you have experience with him from 1984. See, I didn't know the connection with him and Michael from 1984.
I didn't know that either.
But listen, by the way, Rob, moving forward, the head of our research team for the NBA is going to be Scottie Pippen. I want you to know this. That's just moving forward. That's what we're doing. Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a value-taming gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. But if you believe the future, moving forward about talking
did
about.
I nail it? Nope.
Place your order. Tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. So, talking about, moving forward about talking about, this dream team, Michael, all this stuff. I've noticed, I've watched some of your stuff. I even DM'd you one time, and we went back and forth on the exchange. That was between us. But when your book came out, and you came out with the book came out, I think you said something about how do you want to be remembered? And you said, I want to be remembered as the greatest of all time.
All right, now we're getting into some stuff. Okay.
And this was the Unguarded. And this came out November 9, 2021. If I'm not mistaken, The Last Dance came out during COVID. Was it April of 2020? I couldn't even tell you when The Last Dance came out. If you want to type in The Last Dance 2020 premiere, there it is. Okay, April 19th, 2020. Which, by the way, the timing of that documentary couldn't have been better than the way it did right after COVID, because we all watch a Sunday night, 2 episodes for 5 weeks.
I real quick, I forgot it was that soon, because everything started shutting down March of 2020. So just like 6 weeks later came The Last Dance. What a perfect time. Yeah, it was absolutely perfect timing.
Straight. So you were glued to the screen, 8 o'clock East Coast till 10 o'clock, and I'd bring the guys to my theater room. We'd sit there, watch that documentary together. It was epic. But when you said that, this is the one part that I'm really curious from your end. You said, I want to be remembered as the greatest of all time. And there was kind of a little bit of the conflict where you were not happy about The Last Dance, about the stuff that was said, and maybe not enough being covered with you guys. You saying, I want to be remembered as the greatest of all time, how much of that was really what you believed in? How much of that was you trying to sell a book?
Ooh.
And how much of that was somebody behind closed doors flattering you, saying you didn't get enough credit for what you did during the Chicago's run?
I think it's just me believing in myself, in the way that I played the game, that I did it the right way. I did it where I won. I played the right way. My teammates loved the way that I played, and people, my peers, respected the way that I played. And I feel like that I got out of the game everything that I put into it, I was a guy that, I was a walk-on, I was a guy that went to 3 camps just to get drafted and end up being the 5th pick. So I feel like the work that I put in over 15, 20 years, before and during my professional career, that I played the game the right way, that I played it where I showed younger players how to be successful and how to enjoy the game. I showed men's, women who is not as athletic how to play the game and to play it the right way and to play it from a team standpoint.
I feel like he totally dodged that question What about you guys? Like, that wasn't a question at all. But it's the wordage. If he didn't say, I want to be remembered as the greatest of all time, the statement he just made there, perfect. If he just said, I want to be remembered as one of the greats, absolutely perfect what he just said there. But he made a statement saying he wants to be remembered as the greatest of all time. That's a powerful statement.
Yeah, but to say you know the technicalities of this game, and you know during a moment like that, like, you know, the biggest debate is always who's the greatest of all time. And Last Dance comes out, and a lot of people, well, you know, Michael didn't highlight you, Michael didn't highlight Horace Grant, and Horace wasn't too happy about it.
The very first thing in The Last Dance is him highlighting Scottie Pippen. Do people not even make it 5 minutes through The Last Dance? And like, come on, it's in the first couple of minutes.
It, and you know, I remember when Horace was in the league with him and his brother, right? If I'm not mistaken, his brother's name was what, Brian? I think it was Harvey Grant, right? And he played for the Bullets, I think. I don't know what it was called back then. I think it was the Bullets, if I'm not mistaken. Also, a big guy. Yeah, Harvey Grant. He played at the Blazers, but I think he started off with the Bullets, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Again, why are we showing him in 1999? Like, show his 92 stats. That should be right around where Harvey was starting to peak.
And by the way, I thought Horace was great, because I think Horace came to the Lakers as well one season or two, and he had a pretty good run there as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're going through it and you say something like that, this is I think this is a part where, for someone like you that has been as involved in the NBA drama, positive drama, not negative drama. We're not talking about, like, you know, drugs and stuff like that. I'm talking positive drama of the NBA that makes the NBA exciting, that people want to talk about. You know the weight behind you saying the greatest of all time. I'm wondering, was it you fully believe? Because you made some arguments that, you know, sometimes LeBron is a more complete player than Michael. You've had those types of discussions. Remember, I watch you. You don't watch me. I've watched you way more than you watch me. So I've seen you say stuff. You're Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
You're not just a regular player that played in the game. You're a Hall of Famer, top 50. And arguably, when we put our starting five together, dude, I want you on my team, because I want somebody that plays defense the way you do, that's an all-around guy, that as a defensive player, dude, I can only imagine in practice how I was guarding Michael every freaking day in practice. What is that going to do to you? That's a scary job to have, to get better at that, right? But you said the greatest. So when I see a fall sometimes, or I see something, is people are in my ear. And sometimes the hardest thing to do in life, I saw my parents get a divorce. And when they got a divorce twice and they remarried each other, each family was saying, she doesn't appreciate you enough. He doesn't appreciate you enough. And this flattery is divisive, to put a little wedge between you. I know it's not a comfortable thing to probably talk about, but did any of that happen where someone was saying, come on, Scottie, Michael would have never won 6 without you. Come on, Scottie. And Michael said it himself, but from your standpoint.
Okay, no, I mean, good double down. Good double down on this one. Because Scottie was totally trying to get away with this one. So let's see what he's got to say.
No, that's you know, the reason why I say stuff like that is because when you play the game the way that I played it, you play on both ends. Why can't I say that?
Oh, that's okay. You can say that.
So
no one's saying you can't say that.
Yeah, and say it and mean it.
Oh, so you do believe that?
I'm saying, yeah. Look at the stats. I got 6 rings too. Look at my accolades. I got defensive player, all NBA. So playing the game the right way and winning means something to me, and it meant a lot to me. I don't have the MVPs, but guess what? Somebody that was with me got it.
Would you say
I didn't have the final MVP, but hey, we won the championship.
I get that, but that could be to say you would.
Well, here is my
yikes! This is getting awkward. All right, this is getting weird.
Thing is, to me, before the '90s, I had never in my life heard anything about a GOAT in basketball.
Interesting. Really?
Never.
To be fair, we never used that term at all.
I had never heard anyone say, who's the greatest player in the NBA
Scottie.
before the 90s.
Oh, no, we did
Who
that.
was that guy then?
We did that. We did that. I'm sorry to cut him off. I'm going to rewind it after this so I don't interrupt. We always talked about who's the best. We never had the term GOAT, though. We didn't throw it around like this, but we always had debates on whether it was Wilt Chamberlain or Michael Jordan. And then eventually, Wilt Chamberlain was gone. It was Michael Jordan. Kareem was in a conversation too, but it was Wilt Chamberlain more often than not back then. At least it's changed a lot since then. But no, we didn't say like MJ's the GOAT. You know, that just wasn't a thing.
In the NBA.
Scottie.
Before the 90s. Who was that guy then?
Wilt Chamberlain.
If you had heard that, who was that guy?
Wilt Chamberlain.
And why is he not being mentioned today?
I would say the debate pre-90s, you got to realize, I'm in the Middle East during that time.
I understand that. I understand that. So,
the greatest basketball player in Iran was probably a different guy. But if I were to say the discussion, when I hear that one time that I don't know if it was NBA was celebrating the top 50 greatest players of all time, and Wilt and Michael are in the corner having a heated debate. This is a story I've read about. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've read about it in many different places.
Let me just go back a little further.
Please.
Let's go back to the 80s.
Okay.
Before the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go in the mid-80s.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the GOAT?
It was Wilt Chamberlain.
During that era of all time.
Of all time.
I would say there's a strong argument at that time for Wilt being the greatest of all time.
And I agree. I was there. I was a kid. You know, I grew up in the 80s, and that was it. It was Wilt Chamberlain, hands down. Do I agree with that as an adult? No. But back then, that was the narrative. So I'm not saying that was my opinion. That was the opinion of everybody. Michael Jordan had to overcome Wilt Chamberlain in order to become the greatest of all time.
Because the Lakers hadn't yet gone on their dominant, destroyed his opponents.
So why is he not mentioned now? Why is he not? I don't even hear about him now.
Oh, I mentioned Wilt. I mean, you're talking about the guy that has.
He got 13 rings.
Well, no, he didn't get 13 rings. Russell got. You're talking about Russell.
I mean Russell. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking Wilt.
Well,
Russell got the 11 and the 2 additional ones. Yeah, 13 rings. But there's a difference because we can say Ori got 7, right? Ori's not in the discussion of all time. But Ori wasn't the face of the team, and Ori...
So what's the credentials to be that guy?
To be the greatest of all time?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great conversation. I'm curious to know what you say. I'm a fan. I'll give you my opinion, but I want to hear from you.
My opinion, real quick, is back then it was who's the greatest individual. That's why Wilt Chamberlain was the GOAT to us back then. Even though he didn't have all the championships that Bill Russell had, we'd never seen an individual like that excel and be that individually dominant. Then Michael Jordan came around and he was individually dominant in the 80s. And then in the 90s, he was the quintessential like perfection of team success as they won 6 championships together while he was the greatest individual at the same time. That's what the new definition of the GOAT is. You have to be the best individual and the best winner at the same time. That's why knocking Jordan off the pedestal is so impossible at this point. You have to be both. And no one's come close ever since. But that's the history of it. It's evolved from an individual to a great individual excelling who also has great team success because it's a team sport. And until somebody comes around and has more team success while also being the greatest individual in the league that whole time, no one's knocking him off.
I think it exists in team sports. I don't think it exists in team sports.
It does, though, because of leadership.
You don't think it exists in team sports?
No.
Can I push back?
Yes, please.
Okay. So there's a part of me that agrees with you in certain games, sports. For example, it's very tough for baseball. I don't know if you're a baseball guy or not, but in baseball, if you say who's the greatest of all time,
what position?
you could say Babe because he was a two-way player and he hit the 700 plus. He had 60 home runs in a season. You could say Barry Bonds, but Barry didn't win the chips, and his career in the playoffs is suspect. You could say Willie Mays, 660, defensive player, my argument is Willie. When I have the conversation, it's Willie. But then you could say you forgot about all the pitchers.
Here's my punchback at that. Did Barry Bonds ever strike anybody out?
No.
So what did he do on the other side of the field to make him the greatest?
He was a Golden Glove guy.
That's weird, though, because baseball, they did play offense and defense. Better comparison would be the NFL, because except for like Deion Sanders, like no one's playing offense and defense. So that's an impossibility to say who's the greatest of all time in the NFL. But in basketball, we can, because you have to play both ends. So who's the greatest on offense? Who's the greatest on defense? Who's the greatest individual altogether? And then who's the greatest team leader who's leading the team to victories and championships? It's a complicated thing, but you can, in basketball, define who the greatest is, in my mind.
Was a good, but he didn't strike people out. But I think it's a different game in baseball than basketball. I think in basketball, when I think about basketball, okay, so maybe let me play this game in a different way with you. You're an NBA owner, Scottie.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play a game called NBA Draft Pick.
Yeah.
Who's your number one draft pick to put a team together?
All time?
Which era?
Any era. Today, to play today, who do you pick as your number one draft pick?
In today's era player, I'll take Wembyama,
Webby?
the young player with San Antonio.
So your all-time to pick your number one draft pick, you pick Wemby 1. Wow. Who's 2?
Well, you saying now, so I got to look at this era and say, hey, this kid young, he's got 1 year. Yeah.
So you think Wemby
I'll develop him.
You think Wemby in this era does better than Michael would do in this era?
Well, you asked me this era. That's why I asked
I got you.
Yeah,
which
do all time. I'm sorry, do all time.
This guy derailed.
Then I'm going to pick my era. I'm going to pick the team that won 6 titles.
Who's your number one draft pick? Player.
I'm going to pick Michael.
Okay.
Nice.
Who's your 2?
I'm going to pick me.
I agree.
Nice.
Who's your 3? To put a team that wins, who's your 3?
I'm going to pick Dennis or Horace Grant, whichever era.
I see what you're doing. I see. Okay, so let's just say Dennis is 3. Who's your 4?
Don't matter. Give me anybody. I'll take you.
So let me get this straight. So your mindset is you, Michael, and Dennis will beat any team that anybody puts together.
We did it for 3 years.
Twice.
No, I did it with Horace the first time. But, yeah, me and Michael did it
That's
for
right.
6.
That's right. That's fair enough. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's why I said Dennis or Horace. Okay, but if you're – and I want to qualify this because to me that could still be a safe space answer because you're still saying that I'm picking us against anybody else. Right.
I'm picking the greatest team against anybody.
Yeah, but when you say you're the greatest of all time and the GOAT debate, that's still saying that you're ahead of Michael. So your position is still in the game of NBA, you're the greatest of all time all around.
Wow, he's really drilling him on this one. But it's true. Scottie just contradicted himself. He says he wants to be remembered as the greatest of all time. But if he were to build a team right now, his first pick would be Michael Jordan. How could it not be himself?
I'm speaking from a team standpoint.
Would you put yourself ahead of LeBron?
As a team standpoint.
Would you put yourself ahead of LeBron as a team standpoint?
I would.
My success as a team is more successful than LeBron. I got 6 rings.
Now, that might shock some of you people, but I agree 100%. If I was building a team right now, yeah. I would rather have Scottie Pippen be that glue that holds the team together than LeBron James any day of the week. Why? Scottie Pippen plays defense. That's 50%. He's 50% better than LeBron for a team in my mind because he plays the best defense. In fact, arguably like top 10 defenders of all time type of defense. Yeah, Scottie Pippen all day over LeBron for a team.
Okay, so then if I talk to an NBA owner, by the way, this is very helpful because realize this is very helpful because for me as a fan, I've followed this. So if I speak from an NBA standpoint, owner, and I want to find an all-around player to be my number one, you think the average owner is going to pick you or LeBron?
I don't know.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that
So
either.
that,
You want individual accolades or you want championships?
Wow.
Because I didn't chase mine.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Holy crap. Okay. I want to hear that one more time. Did you hear that?
You want individual accolades or you want championships? Because I didn't chase mine.
I didn't chase mine. Damn. And individual accolades or championships. Yep. He's calling out LeBron right now. I've actually missed Scottie talking about this stuff. I hope this is a Scottie Pippen comeback, man.
okay, and that's an argument that LeBron went to Miami. He went back to Cleveland to win with Kyrie, and then he went back to LA to win with Anthony Davis. Michael never had teammates like that, and you had Michael as a teammate. But in this specific context, Scottie, I think this is very important because I'm really trying to understand your position. Is specific with you against Michael. You're still saying Michael's the greatest of all time, but maybe you're saying you're the greatest teammate of all time. Would that be a better way of qualifying it?
That's good middle ground.
I would say, if you want to say it that way. But again, team sports to me, there's no GOAT. There's great teams.
But then why did he say he wants to be remembered as the greatest of all time? He didn't say the Bulls. That's what Jordan says, and that's why it's so legit that Jordan says it. This was the greatest team of all time, and I was a part of it. Scottie, okay. No, he can't get away with that one, though, because he said it on record. He wants to be remembered as the greatest of all time, but now he's saying there is no greatest of all time because it's a team sport. Contradiction.
But as an individual, you got to go to individual sports.
Why can't he just admit that he said that wrong?
Yeah, I think okay, so maybe well, I mean, the fact that I asked you to draft, who would you pick as number one? Just by you saying Michael won,
I looked
you
at
too,
this era.
Right.
But if you ask me to pick a team, NBA, then I'm going to pick my era and my team. That's the most dominant team that's played in the game.
Yeah.
There's no team that's done what the Bulls done.
You picked Michael ahead of you, though. So that, in essence, you're saying Michael's the greatest of all time.
Well, he's older than me, so he would have been in the game before me.
You're so funny. Scottie, I am really trying to figure.
You want me to pick
You
myself?
are so funny, Scottie. You are so funny. You're so funny. So, okay, so you're saying era. Wemby in your era, Michael in this era. Who does better?
I think MJ in this era, personally.
Wemby in this era and Michael in this era?
So, no. Wemby goes to your era.
Oh.
And then Michael comes to this era. Who does better?
Guys, I hate to do it. I'm going to stop it right there for part 2. This one has gone on pretty long. I don't want to, once again, but I got to. I have to. If I go on any longer, no one's going to click on this video and watch it. I got to digest some of this. That was some big stuff going on right there. I can't believe Scottie is this. I can, actually. I can believe he's this stubborn. Like, the sad thing is that if he just said, you know what, I didn't mean I'm the greatest, I meant we were the greatest. You know, like, we had the greatest team of all time, which is, I mean, it's a fact. If you go by record-wise and the fact they won a championship, that 95-96 Bulls team is the greatest team of all time. There's no denying it. But instead, he's refusing to admit that, you know what, I said I want to be remembered as the greatest of all time. My bad. What I meant was I wanted us to be remembered as the greatest team of all time, or the greatest dynasty of all time. Because basketball is a team sport, which he keeps re-emphasizing here over and over again, it is a team sport, and I agree with him. So then why not just change it? But instead, he's dancing around this whole thing, saying there is no greatest of all time, even though he said he was. Oh, all right, guys, I'm going to head out for this one. I can't wait for tomorrow to get back for more and see where this goes, because this started out a chummy little conversation between two guys, and it is quickly getting intense. So thank you for watching, everybody. Just a reminder, the link to the full video is down below. So if you guys want to watch ahead of me, go right ahead. If not, I'll see you tomorrow for the next part of this. Leave the video a like if you liked it, please. It helps out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and hit the bell notification if you want to be notified when part 3 goes live tomorrow. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm like a kid in the candy shop with this. I'm really enjoying it. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.